Good day, everyone. Mason Winfield again with another installment of Sci Friday with Mason. This one coming so soon after the new year. I don't know, we talk about what we talk about. Now we're talking about Little People Street. You know, I've been doing ghost walks for a long time, like 25 years. I interview people, I get stories. It's really different from being a literary folklorist or being a ghost hunter or because I talk to people who have no connection to me or places or whatever, and I figure out what they say they see. It's very interesting. There is a street in East Aurora, New York, my hometown. A little short street. It's cut off at both ends. It's Paine Street. And it's tiny. And yet, get some good stuff about it. Stuff that you just never would have anticipated. When I started my research in East Aurora for ghost walks, my friends were all telling me, oh, you got to check out this one street. So, oh man, and it took a while for me to get anything about it, but now I got some, a couple of decent ghost stories. What I found the most interesting was that there seemed to be a connection in children's experiences of imaginary friends that suggested a connection to the fairies. I mean, if you got a 4-year-old kid whose imaginary friend is that big, that's a fairy in my world. The kid doesn't know it, and it's not just one site. It's not just one house. I've gotten a few of them, different sites on the same little street. And the stories are murky, except for one, the recollections of a mother. They're faint. The third hand, they're murky. Not much to write about, other than saying the street has this unusual connection. I think the most unusual of them all, though, came fairly recently. You see, Paine Street in East Aurora is where the Boys and Girls Club is located. And there is a house there in which a small family whom I interviewed once lived, and their 4-year-old girl was having dreams, visions, experiences of little people, generally outside at night through the window, but the family moved, end of story. We go right by there on my village ghost walk, and I usually take the opportunity to link it to another story I call The Lucky One. I've published it a number of times. It's one of my favorites. It's in my top 10 spooky stories favorites. But another story came my way this summer about Paine Street. I fell into conversation with a woman who has a Downs child. And one of my good friends has a Downs child too. And I know from talking to them all that at least when the story took place, they ride the same van every day. Wherever they go, the same van picks them up and they ride them. And this one year, this one particular van driver reported that every day one of the Downs children was getting agitated. And that's all he or she wrote. We rode today, they're agitated. Made the drive agitated, and that's all they wrote. So the girl's mother decided to, well, other than my kid being crazy, why don't I just ride the bus and see what happens? So she rode the bus with the kids, and she found out that there was a certain spot at which the child acted up. It was right outside the Boys and Girls Club. It's where the earlier house had been that had had the encounter with the little people. Once the bus or the van changed its route, no more act-ups. And this child was not only Downs, but she was pre-verbal. So she couldn't tell you what was causing her to react. But I'll tell you, it's one of the oldest stereotypes in literature that our children that are differently abled, that are insane, if you want to use the word, are able to look into the other realm, and they're more likely to see the fairy folk. That's part of the reason, I think, that the little people are such a underground aspect of today's supernatural folklore, is because a lot of adults don't want to admit it when they see them. Because they are associated with the wackos, they don't want to be thought wacko. I don't know, that's just an armchair theory. But I found these connections to be maybe the most interesting aspect of my research, the way you get all this information from way different sources and you pull it together, and all of a sudden you go, yeah, now we got a story. Happy New Year, y'all. Thanks so much for joining us on another installment of Sci Friday with Mason. See you next week.